Now, say my name. Heisenberg. You're goddamn right.
Mundaun is a hand-drawn, black-and-white first-person horror game made by Swiss studio Hidden Hills. We play as Kurdin, a grandson of a deceased war veteran that died in a barn fire. After he sees the place of the accident, strange things begin to happen. This will lead him on a journey to the top of the mountain in search for answers. The game is available on every platform for $20. Let's start with something obvious, which is the art design. This game was pencil drawn from start to finish, and as a result, the game looks visually interesting. Everything resembles something from a sketchbook of a skillful artist. The character models, landscapes, animals. I just can't imagine the effort that was put into it, especially since I can't draw anything worth shit. One time I was so happy that I drew something resembling of a house.
Bruh.
Yeah, that's not even close to this. Anyway, they also made the game in black and white color pattern, which adds not only to the overall stylistic of a hand-drawn picture, making it even more appealing than it already is, but it also helps establishing that eerie atmosphere of doom and gloom, which is the very essence of a horror genre, and it works especially well in the rural setting, which this game is presented in. All in all, top-notch quality all around. Another positive aspect of the game is the story itself. The plot takes a lot from Germanic folklore, mainly tales about the devil tempting weak-willed people, like Faust for example. And the art style and setting give you the vibes of black and white horror movies like The Witch or The Lighthouse, both high-quality independent horror movies. And while the trope itself is used often enough, that doesn't make it necessarily overplayed or bad. Someone smarter than me once said that the predictable story told well will always be better than original story that was told badly. And Mundaun for the most part handles the story quite well. Events happen in often strange yet weirdly logical way. The dialogue is solid, and for those who wants to take time for exploration, there is some small bit of lore to find and read. There are also multiple endings to the game, but unfortunately, that can't be done on one save. You have to start over in order to see everything. While the story is good, it could have been way better, but not because of the writing, no. Mundaun's story's biggest flaw is its main character. We don't know anything about Kurdin, only that he's the grandson of the deceased old man. This man doesn't get much of a character development. Let's be honest, no one really has big development in this game, but his case is the absolute worst. And despite witnessing firsthand those awful things that he keeps happening on, he just doesn't want to question them at all. It's just normal thing to him. Like, whatever. What's even worse is that his voice actor does a piss poor job of conveying any human emotion into the character. Most of the time he seems bored by everything, and his biggest emotional moment is either being annoyed at something or making grunts because of a pain.
Grazie.
Jai, tisas cincha.
Voice acting of other characters is not that great either. I can't however judge it very objectively since I'm not familiar with the in-game language. At first I thought that it was some sort of a made-up language which uses words from German and Italian which sounded a little bit like gibberish, but I found out after a bit of a research that it was an actual language. Apparently in some regions of Switzerland they speak in Romansh, a language that is used by not more than 50,000 people in total. Well, that's one way to promote a different and unique language. I give them that, but I still have to judge the acting in some way, based on the sample presented in the game, and on average, I don't think it's very good. Some of the performances are passable. Some are meh at best.
And the picture of Jairus Joseph.
Tino push beter che malgarde de tot.
Best of the bunch has to be the villain, but to be honest, I'm not sure who did most of the work here, the actor or the sound designer. I'm willing to say the latter one. And finally, the core gameplay itself. I wasn't a big fan of it. At its core, the game is a walking simulator with Resident Evil mechanics, and those consist of either finding stuff that upgrades your health, rifle handling or fuel resistance, fighting off monster enemies, and obviously some puzzle solving. And let's start with that one. I have a mixed feelings about it. While I appreciate the thought process behind them, I can't shake the feeling that they were often more obtuse than they needed to be. More often than not, I had a solution right in front of me, but I just couldn't see it. For example, to progress further, you need to unlock a certain door, but there is nothing in your surrounding area, so you exit and search for some items to do it for you. But instead, the game just wanted me to look for a couple of seconds at the door. It's very strange and unintuitive design, and during the whole game there are more moments like that when you just can get stuck simply for the fact that the game doesn't communicate well with the player what it wants from them. And upgrading your stuff? That's pretty much pointless, cause there's rarely a moment in the game that you're in any danger and barely forces you to fight. You can easily manage to finish the game without killing anyone. And this also makes your items irrelevant, which is very odd considering the fact that the game showers you in those. I also think that the enemies were added just because it would have been weird to have a horror game without any monsters in it. You have people, clones that show bees at you,
No, not the bees! Not the bees!
undead soldiers, and a giant monster that resembles in some way a Bigfoot. And aside from soldiers, which presence is explained in the story, the enemies feel out of place and random. Combine this with a totally non-responsive main character, and as a result the immersion is gone in a moment instant. Well, are they scary at least? Yes. The first time you encounter them they are, but later on it just becomes a nuisance, since you can easily dodge all of them. I was fine with the walking sim part, mainly because the game tried to mix it up a bit by having you drive a car or a sleigh. And while the driving mechanic is not perfect by any means, I appreciate the effort to change things up a bit and not have your character just walking around the neighborhood. Mundaun is not a long game. It took me just a little over 7 hours to complete, and that includes numerous amount of hitting the wall. More clever players can finish it in about 5 to 6 hours at the most, double the time if you want to see both endings. The game has great aesthetic values and decent story. The gameplay itself, however, is not great, but it's not bad either. It's just okay. Is the game overall good? I think so. Does it deserve a full price? In my opinion, not really. I would wait for a sale to drop a few bucks and then you can try it for yourself. And that being said, the final score for Mundaun is a 6 out of 10. And that wraps it up for this review, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.